But in your case, they're in vain. You didn't do them for me. You did them for a false god. And you know I will accept no works offered to a false god. But wait a minute, Lord, I didn't do them for a false god. I did them for you. I called you Lord every day. Yes, you call me Lord, but you never made me Lord. What a difference. Call him Lord gives him a title. Make him Lord promotes him to ruler of life. To the listener, let me say this to you now would be a good time to identify your Lord, who really is the ruler of your life.
That's right.
But Lord, I said, I couldn't see that false god. And then he showed him to me. Instantly, I recognized him. Satan's number one selling false god, S-E-L-F, lovely old self. Because self ruled in my life, Jesus Christ had no place. They took me away, let me regain my composure, brought me back and let me plead till the scales fell from my eyes. Suddenly, I saw what it was they wanted me to see all the time. You see, I was pleading for the wrong life. I was pleading for a life that came from dirt. It was going back to dirt. But housed within was an immortal life, a life that would never end. And there was my Father, my real Father. He was hurting for me. The least, smallest, insignificant creature in God's kingdom. And he was hurting for me. For me. Wow. Nothing mattered now. Not my life, not my soul. The only thing mattered now. I not hurt my Father again. I'm ready for him to pick me up, and should he desire to drop me in hell, I would have said amen. But when nothing else mattered, when this life didn't mean anything anymore, he gave it back. Sent me back to do what I've been doing. We're now going on 31 years without stopping. I had a commission. My commission is, your commission is different from mine. You are the church, not the building of the church, but the Christians of the church. Your commission is to go into all the world and preach the gospel. He wasn't going to send me back to preach the gospel to the world. He sent you. If he was going to send me back to preach the gospel to the world, he'd have to take the commission away from the church and give it to me. And I would be the only human on earth with the authority to preach the gospel. But he wasn't about to do that because the church has that authority. You are the church. You have that authority. So he sent me to his church. He said his church had gone to sleep, and he wanted them to hear one more time. Now, since I wouldn't know there's many things that calls itself a church is not a church.
That's right.
And I wouldn't know which is the real and which was the false. So he said I could not ask anybody to hear this, but I must go tell it wherever I'm asked. Now, when I want you to go to my church, I'll put it on somebody's heart to call you. There might only be one person in there, or there might be 100, whatever is there. But I sent you, and you go only where you get an invitation. Ask no question, go. And if you put him down, get to him when you can, but go. So that's what I've done these 31 years, and the phone hasn't stopped ringing.
Wow, that is just truly amazing. I want to read a little tiny excerpt of this chapter here, Rude Awakening. You said the voice that you heard sounded, you said you could put together all the storms, the volcanoes, the tornadoes, and the hurricanes, and they could in no way imitate what I heard. The sound of his voice was in no way like the sweet voice I talked about earlier. The sound of his voice came down on me from over the gates even before the words hit me. The tone of his anger knocked me on my face as God proceeded to tell me what kind of life I had really lived. He told me what he really thought of me and even others who did as I had. He pointed out that my faith was dead, that my works were not acceptable, and that I had labored in vain. He told me that it was an abomination for me to live such a life and then dare call it a life of worship.
Right.
Furthermore, he said to those who do it, they are in danger of experiencing his everlasting wrath.
Amen.
As God dealt with me, he displayed his wrath to me. Notice it was not his everlasting wrath. He did say there are some who will experience his everlasting wrath. I could not believe he was talking to me in this manner. I had served him for years. I thought I had lived a life pleasing to him. As he was enumerating my wrongs, I was sure he had confused me with someone else. There was no strength left in me to even move, let alone protest. Yet I was panicking within myself. No way could he be talking about me? I just could not believe that what he said was referring to me. All those years I thought I was doing those works for God. Now he was telling me that what I did for myself. Even as I preached and testified about the saving grace of Jesus Christ, I was doing that only for myself in order that my conscience might be soothed. In essence, my first love and my first works were for myself. After my needs and my wants were met or satisfied, in order to soothe my conscience, I would set out to do the Lord's work. This made my priorities out of order and unacceptable, and I had become my own false god.
Absolutely.
Yep. And so this is amazing that it was you were doing good works, but you had the wrong motives of the heart.
Absolutely, wrong motive. And he said the works was good. He said he saw the works was there every time I did them, but he wouldn't accept it because I was doing them for me, not for him.
Yep. And you cited 1 Corinthians 3:15 that says, "If any man's work shall be burned, he shall suffer loss, but he himself shall be saved, yet so as by fire." So our works are going to be tested on that day of judgment, not the white throne judgment seat for the wicked, but those whose names are written in the Lamb's Book of Life. Our works will be judged.
Amen. They will be. It's a mercy seat. 1 Corinthians and 2 Corinthians also remind us that we all must appear before the mercy seat of Christ and give an account of what we've done in this life, both good and bad. That's not the sinner now. That's the saved. That's the saved. We will account for our stewardship. You see, the moment he set us free, he gave us a stewardship. We all have been appointed at least a watchman to our world. Our world is where we live, eat, sleep, work, socialize. That's our world. And we've been appointed a watchman to warn our world of the wrong that we see before our eyes. If you close your eyes to sin, the Bible tells you he'll make you guilty of it. So
he'll give you over to strong delusion that you should believe a lie.
Right. We can't close our eyes to sin. We have to call it sin, and we have to call it that publicly. See, a lot of people say, well, I see how they live over there. If they want to do that, it's okay. I don't do it. You're closing your eyes to it. And you go back in the 22nd chapter of Deuteronomy, you're going to see where you close your eyes to sin, he'll make you guilty of it, just like he did the Egyptians. He made them guilty, the whole society guilty of the sins that they were living, and the abominable way they were living. And for that, you read what he done to them, Psalm 78, chapter 49-50. He sent evil angels amongst them and killed the whole bunch of them with catastrophic illnesses.
Yeah, and so much lawlessness in iniquity in the church today, and people think we don't have to obey the commandments, and the Old Testament's been nailed to the cross, and the laws of Moses have been nailed to the cross. This big lie that I hear all the time, and people think that we don't have to we don't have to obey the law. What they miss is that the law has been written in our hearts and in our minds under the new covenant.
That's absolutely correct. The law is in our hearts. That's where it is now. And we know what's right and wrong. It's given unto us to know. And any time we do wrong, we have to mollify our conscience, because our own conscience will destroy us.
That's right. Right. And that leads me to, we got 15 minutes left before I open up the lines and let some people ask you some questions. But